Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to disassemble these multi-pin, like early 2000s MOPAR connectors. These are out of some early 2000s Dodge Caravans. Pulled them out of a scrapyard. I need them to fix the electric fan harness on my 2005 Jeep Liberty because I had the wiring short out inside of the female end of the harness, and it just melted everything up inside of there, and it's no longer allowing the fan to turn on. I think these little metal connectors are just totally fallen out of where they need to be. The reason why I'm disassembling these instead of just splicing this onto the existing wiring is because these are some tiny little pissant wires. The stuff on the Jeep is like 8 gauge, and this is like, I'm not an electrician, like 14, 16 something, I don't know. It's a number. And that ain't gonna work, because that'll just melt the wires immediately, because that's a 40 amp circuit right there. So I need to totally disassemble the harness and get the wires out so that I can swap this little plastic bit onto my car, so that my fan works, so that my engine doesn't overheat and my heads don't warp. So anyway, I need to replace this harness. And in order to do that, I had to figure out how to take them apart, because I could not search the correct thing to figure out how to do it. So in order to do that, went to a scrapyard, bought 2 of these. I think they cost me $5 per set because it was like $3.50 a piece and $3 admission to get in there. The reason why I bought 2 is so that I can do what I'm about to show you and not worry about accidentally breaking the harness and then having to go back to the scrapyard and find another in the appropriate car and then do this again, because if need be, I could totally bisect one of these with a saw and figure out exactly what I needed to do to disassemble one, so then I could do it to the other and do it to the one on my vehicle and not be SOL. Now, the tools you're going to need to complete this task are a small screwdriver, a much smaller screwdriver, a pair of needle nose pliers, and a stiff piece of spring steel wire. This is just a safety pin that I cut the ends off of. And that's it. You can do all this right in the hood of the car, just with your 2 meaty mitts. No special tools, no vise, no wire cutters, no soldering, no nothing. Might be a bit annoying with really old, really dirty, oily connectors, but here in the shop, it's pretty quick. I can pull one of these apart in like 15 seconds. So without any further ado, let me get to it. Before you start doing anything on this, if you're doing it on your vehicle, disconnect your battery, disconnect both the negative and the positive terminal, and then go into your car, put the ignition on, and turn your headlights on for about 2 minutes, and that will totally discharge all the charge within your engine, because you don't want to accidentally short something out and blow a fuse and or electrocute yourself or set something on fire and just make more problems. So yeah, just make sure you totally disconnect your battery, and to be safe, you want to drain all the capacitors by running your headlights with the ignition on after you disconnect the battery. Probably don't need to be that safe for most applications, but can't hurt. Alright, if it sounds like I'm coming out of just your left ear, that's because I'm standing on the left side of the camera. Don't worry about it. First thing you're going to want to do, you don't need to put this in a vise. You can hold on to it with your hand. Everything I'm showing you does not take a lot of force to do. I just have it in the vise so that I can use both of my hands while I'm filming. So the first thing you got to do to this is you got to pop the back cover off. And on the male connector, it's pretty easy. You just stick a screwdriver underneath one end and just pull up. It comes right off. Set that to the side. On the female connector, it's a little more difficult. There's some little tabs down in there. And what you need to do is get down in there with your smaller screwdriver and just press on one, then pull it up, and it'll come right off. Once you got that out of the way, very carefully with your screwdriver, pry up on the silicone insulator. You might want to jam it past it. Sorry, fat hands. Might want to jam it past it and just pry up, because it's very soft and you can just shove the screwdriver right through it. I have done that. Now that you got silicone out, and you're going to need to flip it over. Alright, as you can see down in there, the little red thing, that's going to come out. And this is the male connector here. It's different on the female. The way I found to get that out is I just take the needle nose pliers, grab onto that little red nubbins right there. You got to hold it with a decent amount of force and then just give it a good pull, and it comes right out. You do want to give that a good, you really want to squeeze on that, because if you mess that up, you'll just rip pieces of plastic off, and then it'll get even harder. Alright, now that you got the little red thing out, as you can see in there, there's little tiny tabs above those contacts. What you'll need to do is get your little stiff piece of wire, in my case the safety pin I cut up, and without any depth perception because you're staring at a screen, jam it underneath those tabs and then pull up. Do this one at a time, and while you're doing that, pull the wire, and the wire just comes right out with the connector. And do that for the other 2, 3, 1, however many you have on here, because they make these connectors in a 2-pin style, and I think they also make it in a 4-pin, they maybe a 6. There's a whole bunch of them, and I'm hoping that they all disassemble the same way. I'm pretty sure the 2 comes apart the same way, but I need a 3, which is why I'm working with a 3. So just do that for the other 2, and you've got the thing totally stripped apart. And here's the female connector, and I'm pretty sure there's a special tool you need to disassemble this, but I'm stupid, so I usually just fix things with brute force. And the way I figured out how to get this one apart is basically the same as what I did with the male connector. Take this, I take needle nose pliers, I shove it in these 2 little holes right here. Actually what I do is I get it in one hole, and then I grab it on the middle, and I just give it a good tug. And in the case of this, it comes right out. And did damage it a little bit there, but it's nothing to worry about. And then I just grab somewhere else and give it another yank. And that'll defeat these 2 little tabs here on the back. They're not sharp enough that they're going to resist that much force, but they will hold it in place while the car vibrates. But you can just yank it right out. And once again, I'm pretty sure there's a special tool that you need to put in between these 2 things and pinch it, but I don't have it, so I'm just going to rip on it. And once again, to get the connectors out of the female, it's actually easier than the male, because these little tabs are much easier to see and they're much closer up to the front. You just jam your wire right underneath each, pry up a little bit. You can usually get it pretty far in there, and then just hold it in one hand like that, and just give the wire a tug, and it just comes right out. Just like that, I've got both sides disassembled. If you're replacing a harness on your car, you probably only need to do one side. In my case, I only need to do the female side. So I'm going to leave this disassembled. Now I'm going to show you reassembly on the male. And reassembly is way easier. So to put it back together, just line them up in the holes they're supposed to go in. You know, probably get them all going the same direction. They do have a top and a bottom, but on the male it doesn't really matter. You know, just line the top up with the top, or you know, if you're smart, pay attention to the direction they came out in and just put them back that way. So just line them all up in their holes, push them in, and click. It's that easy. A lot easier than disassembly. Just push your silicone insulator gasket water protector back in. Take the red thing on the male, the nubbins goes on the top. You know, it's not symmetrical this way, so you know there's only one way it can go in. Just push that back in, grab a screwdriver, just give it a little push, bam, it's back together. Don't forget your butt cap. If you were putting this on a car, you want to do the butt cap first, because you know obviously after you push the wires in, you know you can't stick it on. But I'm not paying attention to that because I'm holding the whole thing in my hand because I got the wires cut. Now putting the female back together, it's actually a little more difficult because they are sided. As you can see there's an angular cut on the front. That longer end there, that goes towards the bottom, because as you can see there is more material on the bottom of this than on the top. I really don't think it actually matters in a practical sense, but it just looks cleaner that way, so that's how I'm doing it. So let's just line up in there, and just like that, they're all in. Slide the boot back in. Once again, you want to do this first on a vehicle, but I keep forgetting because I'm holding the whole thing in my hand. Butt cap is a little stiffer on the female one because of those tabs, and then slide this on in. And Big hole goes on the bottom, 2 little nubs on the top. Just push that right on in, and you can do that with your fingers. Bam! It's that easy. Alright, here's the part number for it. This reads 3B149-C, and I think the number underneath that's gobbledygook, because it's different on the 2 of these. So if you need to Google something, Google those. So to start us off, the way you disconnect these is you get this little red tab, and you push it out like that. If it's on a vehicle, it's usually stuck as hell, so you just, the screwdriver, you push it in here, and then you just stab yourself in the hand. You just push on this as much as you can to get a little bit of a lip, stick a screwdriver in there, and you keep stabbing yourself in the fucking hand. You get a screwdriver in there, and you just, you get a screwdriver in there, and you, fucking hell, it's harder with the damn screwdriver than with my hand.